It's a question that fans, including myself, have been asking for years. When will The Last of Us Part 2 release? And we finally have the answer to that now. It's February 21st, 2020, thanks to, of course, the State of Play trailer. So I guess I'll just go through it from start to finish, talk about some things. It opens with Ellie and everyone else seemingly just chilling, doing their thing in a protected town place, which I presume is Tommy's Dam from the first game. I don't know where the hell else it would be. From there we get introduced to a few characters that we'd seen in the previous E3 2018 trailer, and we see that Ellie and her girlfriend character Dina, along with some others, appear to be going out on different scouting missions, probably going out for resources and supplies, etc. So I think it's pretty safe to say those will kind of act as the opening missions for the game, get us into the groove, introduce us to the gameplay mechanics and the characters. In that way, it makes a lot of sense. And obviously, this comment applies to literally the entire trailer, but the game is just gorgeous, absolutely incredible stuff. It goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's also here we get some little bits and pieces of the characters riding on horses, so that's cool that we're going to probably be able to control horses again. But of course, something goes awry on one of these missions, and it seems that Ellie gets separated from Dina. We get our first look at the clickers in this game, which is pretty exciting. That bloody noise it makes, I swear to God, it's terrifying. It'll never not be disturbing. All of this brief stuff up until this point didn't seem to be showing us anything particularly new from a gameplay perspective. It seemed to be, you know, going on our supply runs, riding the horses, etc. Stuff that we'd seen in the first game. Ellie goes to this mansion that I mentioned earlier, kind of cool cabin in the woods kind of place, to find Dina, who seems to have been captured potentially by the same kind of cultist faction group that we've seen in some of the previous trailers that Ellie's been facing. She gets in there, gets pinned down by some dude, and presumably, it's never seen, it's not shown on camera, but Dina gets shot in front of her. I'm going to touch on this a bit more at the end, but I feel like in a few of these moments, with the way things are shot and presented in the trailer, that Naughty Dog's trying to mess with us and trying to misdirect exactly what's going to happen, because the trailer kind of overall seems to paint a pretty straightforward image about what the game's about, and I feel like it might be a bit more complicated than it seems. Anyway, Ellie talks to Tommy about how she's going to finish this, which is an interesting quote. So she embarks on her quest of revenge, basically, I guess. Neil Druckmann said on the PlayStation blog post that this game is about Ellie exacting justice on those who have wronged her. We'll come back to this stuff at the end, but we get a glimpse at the cities again, and oh my god, again, absolutely incredible. There's this one particular shot of Ellie riding a horse, and we see the skyscrapers, absolutely jaw-dropping stuff. And it's here, along with this other shot of Ellie cruising through on a boat, that I'm getting a glimpse or a feeling of the game going in a different direction, one that we saw with Uncharted The Lost Legacy, and Uncharted 4 of course as well, where Naughty Dog seems to be placing a new emphasis on, I don't want to call them open world environments per se, but larger, more exploration driven environments that'll kind of be a lot less linear than the first game, which I think will be one of the main areas of gameplay innovation that we see in this title compared to the first one. Because I presume the core combat's going to remain relatively similar, so I guess it makes sense for them to kind of go in a more open direction. I don't know if this is necessarily a good or bad direction. I think there's definitely a way it could be done incredibly well, but I wasn't a huge fan of the open sections in Uncharted 4, and if they're going even bigger with them in this game, I hope that, I don't know, they're able to give them a little bit more focus or make them a bit more interesting, because generally speaking, I've said it before, I'm not a huge fan of the open world craze that's going on in the industry. There's only so many open worlds I can explore, and the prospect of those open worlds being inserted into an excellent story-driven game like The Last of Us doesn't sound appealing on paper, but at the end of the day, I trust Naughty Dog to be able to pull off something cool with it. So let's say I'm cautiously optimistic for some of those potential changes in the gameplay structure. Speaking of the boat, I do think this could be a cool new vehicle that we get access to. I wouldn't be surprised if it's something we end up spending a lot of time in, using the boat to explore areas and get to hidden locations, etc. Kind of like we did in God of War, I guess. And I think that could be pretty cool if it controls well. From there, we get a few snippets of Ellie encountering bloaters and other bandits and cultist members in different locations. A lot of this stuff looks very similar to the kind of incredibly gruesome hardcore combat that we saw in E3 2018's demo, which still, just like it did then, looks absolutely awesome. Now obviously the big moment of this trailer was the Joel reveal at the end, seemingly disproving the theories that Joel's dead from the start, which is something that a lot of fans have been discussing over the years. I guess it's still technically possible, but it's highly unlikely at this point that's true. Joel actually touches Ellie, puts his hand over her mouth, and talks to her. We finally get our Joel reveal, and that's super exciting. I think Joel's an amazing character. Obviously Ellie is too, but getting that Joel reveal at the end of this trailer really hit home, was really impactful. I feel like Joel looks a little bit weird. I don't know, he just doesn't look exactly kind of how I would picture him looking. Obviously, this is just, I assume, a product of graphics improving, next-gen technology compared to the original, which was a PS3 game. Obviously, rendering his face in more detail just makes him look a bit different, I guess. And it seems like, at least judging by the dialogue here, that Joel is going to be our companion for at least a portion of the game, much like Ellie was for Joel in the first game. So this trailer was absolutely awesome, but there are honestly a few aspects of it I'm a little bit thrown off by. I feel like Naughty Dog's misdirecting us. Like I said, in that scene in the middle of the trailer where Dina seemingly gets captured and Ellie watches her die in front of her, we hear the gunshot go off. So like I said, all that seems obvious that it's just a revenge quest, but I feel like there's something more complicated going on here. We never see Dina die explicitly. Now, obviously that would be a moment they'd want to save for the game. They don't want to just give away the fact, oh yeah, Dina gets shot in the head, yay. It'd be weird to give that away. But at the same time, it's so heavily implied that I feel like it's too obvious. All we see is Ellie get pinned down, she starts screaming, it cuts to black, and the gunshot goes off. That's all we see. For all we know, Dina might not even be in that building. So I don't know, all I'm saying for that scene in particular is that I feel like there are some things being cleverly hidden and they could be manipulating the trailer to make it seem like certain things are occurring when certain things aren't. And to support this idea, I just find Ellie's overall motive a little bit off, in my opinion, from what we've seen so far. To support this, in the next scene, Ellie tells Tommy, "I have to finish this." That line doesn't really scream, to me at least, something that you're talking about in regards to exacting revenge for killing my friend. Sure, Dina getting killed by these cultists might link into the entire thing somehow, but I don't know, I feel like there has to be something more to it. Maybe it's got something to do with the fact that she's immune, the cultists have been after her for that particular reason, and then I guess Dina's death might be the last straw that causes Ellie to exact revenge, but there's actually a lot more going on with the cultists, maybe? All I'm saying is that I've got some suspicions about that particular motive and what's driving Ellie throughout the game. I feel like they also might be hiding something to do with Joel, and the reason I say that is because in his reveal scene where he seems to obviously cover Ellie's mouth, and then we see Ellie in the kind of outer environment, but then when it cuts to Joel, we can see he appears to be inside. Somewhere there, you can see a little bit of a staircase in the background there. To me, it paints the picture that these two scenes that Naughty Dog is cleverly cutting together might be entirely different moments in the game, which raises a number of questions regarding whether or not the person that sneaks up on Ellie is actually Joel, and what Joel's role to play in the story actually is in general. Now, obviously I'm just deciphering this from what the background looks like, and without the context of the game, all of that remains incredibly unclear. It could be very possible that they are kind of in the entrance of a house or something, and a stairway is actually there right where Ellie's standing. I could be reading way too much into this and it's all exactly as it seems, but I would not put it past Naughty Dog at all to be trying to play with our heads and fool us in some way through this trailer. A few aspects of it that I've pointed out here just don't seem quite right. But with all that aside, that's my reaction to The Last of Us Part 2 trailer. Obviously, super excited for the game. I share everyone else's enthusiasm who's a fan of this series, a fan of Naughty Dog. Neil Druckmann did say it's their largest game yet, which obviously isn't a surprise. Basically, every Naughty Dog game has been their largest game yet at that point, so it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. Only a few months away now. We got Death Stranding in November, followed by The Last of Us Part 2 in February, plus a lot of other killer games in early 2020. It's an exciting time to be a fan. Overall, I'm simply stoked. Please leave your thoughts on this Last of Us Part 2 trailer in the comment section down below. If you're new to the channel, be sure to consider subscribing for more content like this if you enjoyed it. I definitely appreciate it. This has been SirCazz. Farewell.